Okay, skill level 1, chapter 3. Skill level 1, we're on page 69. Railroad tanker cars. Is what I think we just did. So, performing petroleum tank vehicle operations like tanks, keeping the requirements to load and dispense of petroleum products of the tank vehicles in the field of environmental. The soldier assigned to the petroleum element must perform the operator's preventive maintenance checks and services. The PMCS is loaded to dispense products of the petroleum tanker vehicles. Materials required to perform the task, risk management procedures applicable to the material safety data sheets, personal protective equipment such as face shields and goggles, chemical protective gloves, 1,200 to 2,500 to 5,000 gallon tanks, vehicles, full empty tank pull unit, TPU, refuel on the move, ROM kit, equipment having extended the mobile track, tactical truck, HMETT, tanker aviation, refueling, HATARs, equipment moving to tracking system, MTS, and the operating optional fuel system supply, FSSP, other fuel sources, spill containers, fire extinguishers, American Petroleum Institute, IEPI gravity equipment, the cup case, the thermometer appropriate, the gauging equipment stick, and the other gauge, the worksheet, Depart DAA Form 3643, daily issues, the petroleum products, DA Form, DD Form 1970, petroleum equipment utilization required, the DA Form 5987, and the motor equipment dispatch, EGA, the DA Form 2404, equipment of the inspection maintenance of the worksheet, DA Form 59888E, equipment inspection maintenance of the worksheet, EGA, the facility response plan, spill prevention control countermeasures and plan of the unit, hazardous waste material management policy, unit standing operation procedures, oral, written, and appropriates under the OPORDs, have full access to all reference materials, standards, performing operators, PMCS, dispatch equipment, position vehicle at the site of the load, the dispensed product of the petroleum tanker vehicles, maintain fuel accountability record without injury to personnel or damage to the equipment or surrounding area. Performance steps, danger. Failure to perform this task correctly may result in damage to the equipment or injury or death to personnel. Note, in this task is within the involving extensive handling of the petroleum products. Make sure that the equipment is on hand of the containing of the cleanup spills. Unpack, inspect, and position equipment for the convenient access before being done the task. Reviewing the requirements before performing the task. Ensure that drip pans, waste fuel containers are appropriate size to contain the waste fully generated by the task. Using drip pans at the point of the spill is likely to occur, such as valves and knobs. Continually observe equipment, take care of the performing task of the minimizing possibilities of petroleum spills. If the spill occurs, immediately stop out of the operations. Take steps to stop the containing cleaning up the spill. Report all the spills immediately to the supervisor. Want to apply risk management procedures, understanding the executing risk management, risk control, command, guidance, and directed higher headquarters. Access variable continuously report risk and risk reduction measures that are appropriate for the chain of command. Employ the Environmental Stewardship Protection Program measures asked according to the task 10192F1413. Reading, understanding, or installation standard of operation procedures, OPORDs, requirements for requisition, storing, handling, and disposition of hazardous material. Wearing appropriate personnel protective equipment is required. Gloves, hearing protection, and goggles needed to be worn by the performing any fuel operation. Perform before, during, and after operation of the PCMS system's occupational components are according to the appropriate TMS. Note the DA Form 2404, DA Form 598, any faults found in performing the performance maintenance check services. Safety consideration for the tank vehicles. Position the tank in the facing near the existing. Do not block the exit routes. Conduct a petroleum operation on the level of the ground. Chuck the wheels and set the brake on the tank vehicle. Keep at least 25 feet between the tank of the vehicle and the fuel servicing operations. Open the manhole annual covered during all loading and unloading and fuel serving operations. Post no smoking signs at the 50 feet from the fueling operations. Position fire extinguisher within 5 to 10 feet of the fueling service operation. Bond the ground all equipment. Protect yourself and other against the fumes and vapors of using spill containers. Okay, dispatch vehicles, DD Form 1970, DA Form 5987E, DA Form 2404, and DA Form 598E. These will be repeated later on in throughout the chapter. The present form of the OF Form 346, the U.S. Government and Motor Vehicle Operators Identification Code, or a DA Form 598-4E, Operators Permanent Record of the EGA to dispatcher to dispatch the equipment. Other equipment record of the full holder to the dispatch once he or she is verified the qualified to operate the equipment, perform the operation of the performance maintenance check services equipment using an appropriate technical manual TM and noted to the DA Form 2404, the DA Form 598E appropriate. Gauge the petroleum tank vehicles, position the tank vehicle, position the fire extinguisher within the 5 to 10 feet of the operation, review the shipping document to verify the type of the fuel in the tank of the vehicle, bond and ground the vehicle, ground itself from the static electricity, open the manhole, cover the wind at your back to avoid breathing fuel vapors, insert the thermometer as soon as the hatch is open and measure the temperature. Gauge compartment using the tank of the vehicle, gauge the stick provided by the tank of the vehicle, applying to the fuel water intakes, indicating pass of the stick required to the accurate gauging reading. Repeat gauging procedures until the identical readings are obtained to ensure that the gauge is accurately recorded in the gauge sheet. Take all level samples according to this task 101-92F 1403. Measure the API gravity on the sample according to task 101-92F the 1409. Required of the gauge work with the sheet's quantities of less than 3,500 gallons do not require the volume corrections of the measurement of the API gravity. Remove the thermometer and are required at the time recorded on the gauge sheets of the worksheet. Cover the correct the volume 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees F, correct the volume to the 60 degrees Fahrenheit according to task 101-92F 1409. If required, record the giving worksheet to the supervisor. Operate the TPU according to TM 10-4-9-3-0-236-13 NP. Gloves or hearing protection goggles needed to be worn performing any fuel operations dispensed in fuel TPU using the engine driven up the pump lower tailgate, installing the ground rod according to FM 67-1, connecting the ground cable for the grounding rod for the TPU unit, placing the fire extinguisher within 5 to 10 feet of the operation plan before operations, performing maintenance check services on the TPU according to TM 10-4-9-3-0-2367. 236-13 NP. Open the manhole covers on the tanks. Open the manhole slowly to relieve the pressure. Then there is pressure builded upon personnel. It may be injured. A person may be injured. Attach the second ground with the wire receptacle vehicle to be fueled. 6. Put all the dispenser hose in the desired length and attach nozzles bonding on the clip to the fuel receptacle. 7. Place the spill container under the nozzle port of the vehicle. 8. Open the receptacle, insert nozzle, maintain a metal contact startup bump. Open the fuel shutoff valve, turn ignition switch on, close the chuck. When rope clockwise around the pulley, pull it sharply, set the throttle. All engines to the run at moderate speeds for 3 to 5 minutes. Perform during the operations of PMCS according to TM 10-4-9-3-0-236-13 NP. When the refuel operations is complete, close and discharge the valves on the tank. 12. Stop the engine. Allow the internal combustion powered pump to idle for 3 to 5 minutes to shut off the ignition switch after the engine has cooled. Required issue to the DA Form 364-3 daily issuing of the petroleum products according to DA Form pamphlet 7-9-10-2, which is using below the supply limit. Before after all operations performing the measure and checks and services according to TM 10-4-9-3-0-236-13 NP, and note the DA Form 2404 and DA Form 598 AE as in any deficiencies that cannot be repaired, and the operator inform the supervisor in the system that is found in the non-mission capable NMC. Dispense the fuel to the TPU using the electronic pump. Lower the tailgate, install the ground rod according to the FM 1067-1. Connecting the ground cable to the ground rod of the TPU unit, place the fire extinguisher within 5 to 10 feet of the operation place before the operation of the performance maintenance check services on the TPU according to TM 10-4-9-3-0-236-13 NP. Open the manhole, cover the tank on the tanks. Performance steps. Open the manhole slowly to relieve the pressure. There is buildup upon the person who may be injured to connect the on and off switch cable. Assemble the junction box, connects the inner vehicle power cord and adapter if required to the junction box receptacle of the vehicle of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization slave receptacle. Attach the second ground of the wire to the receptacle of the vehicle to be followed. Pull out dispense hose to desired length and attach nozzles beyond the clip of the fuel receptacles. Place the spill container under the nozzle of the vehicle. Pull either of the both tank control levers on the position. Warning: overheated pump creates a potential fire hazard and will cause the pump damage. Do not allow the pump to run longer than 1 minute and the nozzle closed. Do not run the pump with the tank valves closed. On the fuel receptor, insert nozzle in the tank being fueled by squeezing the nozzle lever to maintain the metal contact. Move on the on and off switch to the on position. When the tank is full, release the nozzle lever. Move on the on to off switch off position, store cable on the truck. Remove the dispensed nozzles of the tank, discounts the nozzles grounding on the clamp and the plug, reminding the hose of the onto the hose reel. Move the tank valve controls levers to off. To require the issue of DA form 3643 daily issue product and petroleum products according to the DA form pamphlet 71021. Perform after operations with the performance maintenance checklist. Check services according to TM 10 4930 NP and note the DA Form 2404, DA Form 598E. Any deficiency that can be found and repaired on that by operator. Inform the supervisor if the system is found to be non-missionable capable. Filling the tanks through the bottom of the loading port. Perform the grounding procedures according to step A1 and 2 above. Place the spill containers under the vehicles. Open the manhole latch and fill the cap on both tanks. Position both the tank levers in the off position. Remove the cover at the bottom of the loading at the port and attach the filling pump of the nozzle to the bottom of the loading port. For caution, the manhole fill must be opened during the bottom of the loading operation. Failure to open the manhole will cause pressure building up within the tanks that could cause the tank to rupture and explode. Center point refueling nozzle operations. Remove the dust cover from the end of the nozzle body. Grasp the handles, hold the nozzle alignment for the TBU refueling adapter. Press the nozzle bodies against the adapter. Turn on the handles to the right until end of the nozzle mates and locks at the TBU refueling adapter. Rotate the control over to the fuel open positions. Disconnect. Rotate the control until the flow can close. To the full closed position, grasp the handles and rotate the nozzle body to the left until it disconnects to the TPU adapter. The CCR nozzle to fill the port. Pull back on the control handle latch and then push the flow control handle up and toward the aircraft at the flow position. A red indicator will pop out of the back of the nozzle when the tank is full. Pull the back of the full control handle to move it on to the no flow position. Unlatch the nozzle. Start the pump. Operate the filling of the pump of the nozzle to load the monitor. 600 gallons fuel tank being filled. Performed during operation of the performance maintenance checking services according to TM 10 4930 236 13 MP. Stop. Then pump when the filling operation is complete. Disconnect the nozzle. Replace the cover over the bottom of the loading part and nozzle to close and latch and both manhole fill caps. Gauge tanks not mounted to the fuel receive the DA Form 3643 daily issues petroleum product. Disconnect and stow the grounding equipment on the spill containers. Perform after operations PCS according to TM 4930 13 NP and note the DA Form 2404, DA Form 598E, 59088E, and deficiencies found by the cannot be repaired by the operator. Inform the supervisor if the system has been found non-missionable capable. Operating the fuel sample. Perform steps 1 through 3 and 4B. Electrical pump operations above. Which this is operating the fuel sample. Perform 1 through 3 and 4 of the electrical pump operations above. With the on-off switch set to the position off. Disconnect the outlet hose for the filter separator on the outlet. Attach the sample the probe adapter to the filter separator outlet. The connect outlet hose to the sample the probe adapter. Dispense the fuel following the steps of the 4B above. When the fuel is dispensed, remove the cap from the probe and extract the fuel sample. Install the cap on the probe. Move the on-off switch to off position. Squeeze the dispensing nozzle lever to release any built-up fuel pressure. Fuel spills can create a potential fire hazard with disconnecting the outlet of the hose. Some of the fuels within the outlet hose or sample probe adapter will be released, and you use a drip pan to catch the fuel. 8. Provide the suitable container to catch the spilled fuel. Disconnects the outlet houses and outlet. Remove the sample probe adapter for the filter separator outlet that connects the outlet hose to the outlet. Perform the after operation of the performance maintenance check services shutdown and procedure of the electrical pump. 1. Check to see that both of the dispensing hoses are fully wounded on the hose reel. 2. Check the static ground cable is fully wound in the static reel. Check the that the fills on the manholes are closely secured. Remove the dipsticks from A-frame. Remove the plug from each of the tanks across access port. Use the dipstick to measure the quantity of the fuel remaining in each fuel tank. Install the plugs and access ports and return to the dipstick is stowed position of the A-frame, making certain of the making certain the on-off switch of the cable is off and coil and circuit. The coil is secured to the unit and slow in the toolbox. Stowed in the toolbox. It wasn't slow in the toolbox, it was stowed in the toolbox. Move both the tank valve controls lever to the off position. Make the certain ground is secured to the stowed position on the A-frame. Open the drain cock and the filter separator. Release the water of the filter separator. Once the water is drained, and close the drain cock and note the DA form 2404, DA form 59AAE. Any deficiency found that cannot be repaired by the operator. Inform the supervisor's system that the found is not mission capability. Operating the HMEET heavy equipment maintenance something. According to TM 923202791, the bottom of the load of the tanker exterior pump, the performing the tanker of the operation, before the operation of the performance check services. According to TM 923202791, note the DA form 2404, DA form 5988, any deficiency that cannot be repaired by the operator. Inform the supervisor if the system is not found to be and not missionable capable. Position the tanker controls. Push the MC manual to control EM valve lever forward down and push the V6 fuel defuel valve into the fueling position. Push the closed 7 valve regulator, the V8 reel valve straight up to the close. I don't know if that's 7 or 11. It's the V11 valve regulator. Put the V8 reel valve H2 straight up to close. Close the V8 block delay valve. Close the V12 drain valve. Turn the flow meter to the reset knob at the 0 scale. Set the TC throttle control switch down to the off position. Set the TL1 tank lever. Okay, that wasn't a 1. It was 11. I don't know. Set the TL1 tanker level indicator switch down to the off position. Set the APC auxiliary pump control with the switch APC to shut off. Put the pump engagement lever until it locked. Close the V17 gravity valve. Check the V12 BL pre-check valve. Check the 7 reel valve H1. Check the V3 suction line valve handle to the open position. Place the ground rod in the grounding according to the FM 1067-1, connecting the static line from the HEMTT ground rod. Both vehicles' equipment involved must be bounded and grounded before performing the fuel procedure. Position the fire extinguisher within the 15 feet to the operation gauge and fuel gauge. Open the right side of the pump and module rear door and set the TL tanking level indicator switches to the reading the tank of the fuel lever to the indicator gauge. No, if the TL1 tank level or indicator of the gauge does not show how to the fuel level reading of the check fuel level with a dipstick according to TM 92320279110-1. Set the TL1 tank lever indicator switch to the off. Close the right side of the pump modulator rear door. Connect the SR1, SR2 static cables to the source of the fuel grounding of the device. Remove the dust cap from the ABL receptacle. Remove the D1 adapter from the stowage. Place the end of the D1 adapter to the ABL receptacle aligned with the keyways of the push in and the turn and D1 adapter clockwise until locked in place. Check the D1 adapter valve lever is closed position. Open the stowage tube. Remove the suction hose. Remove the 3-inch adapter coupling the stowage, connecting one of the end of the suction hoses and connecting the 3 inches adapter to the coupling to the D1 adapter. Connecting other end of the suction hose to the fuel supply. After the fuel flow is started and the fuel station operated, move the D1 adapter valve into the lever to open position. Caution, do not continue the fuel loading if the fuel valve does not stop within about 15 seconds after the V12BL pre-check valve is open and the tanker may be damped. opened, or the tanker may be damaged. As soon as the fuel starts flowing into open to the V12BL pre-check valve. If the flow stops within approximately 15 seconds, close the V12BL pre-check valve and continue fuel loading. And the fuel flow does not stop. The approximately 15 seconds stop fuel loading when notifying the organizational maintenance. When the tank is full, the fuel stops and automatically move the D1 adapter from the lever to the closed position. After the fuel station operator shuts off the fuel, disconnects the 3 adapter couplings from the D1 adapter. Remove the D1 adapter, draining fuel from the suction hose, disposing of the fuel in accordance with the standard operation procedures. Disconnect the suction hose from the fuel supply. Remove the 3-inch adapter coupling with the suction hose. Stow the suction hose of the 3-inch adapter to the coupling of the D1 adapter. Install the dust cap of the ABL receptacle. Perform the after operations of performance maintenance check services according to TM 2320-279-10-1 and note the DA form 2404, DA form 598AE. Any deficiencies found but they cannot be repaired on the operator, and inform the supervisor if the system is found non-mission capable. Disconnect and rewind the SR1 and SR2 static cables to close the module rear doors. Bottom of the load tank of the tanker fuel pump. Starting the engine position the vehicle to load the fuel according to TM 92320-279-10-1. The part of the vehicle according to the TM 92320-279-10-1. If the vehicle is equipped for the self-recovery check of the self-recovery winch for the check of the PTO engage, which is set to the off. The vehicle is equipped for the self-recovery winch pushing the selector valve into the tanker into the pump in operation. Step the PTO engage switch onto the position. Open the pump and module rear doors. Position the tank control. Connect the static cables to the vehicle and when being serviced on the grounded devices bonded and grounded. Remove the dust caps from the ABL and the B gravity and the C bulk receptacles. Remove 3 inches adapter coupling the D1 adapter from the stowage. Place the end of the D1 adapter at the ABL receptacle at the A-line key ways. Push in the turn of the D1 adapter closes until locked in place. Check the D1 adapter valve lever to the closed position. Connect the 3-inch adapter coupling to the end of the suction hose and then to the D1 adapter. Connecting other end of the suction hose to the C bulk receptacle unfiltered. Connecting one of the fuel station sections that have the gravity receptacle and the other end of the fuel station has the supply. After the supply control, the fuel supply is opened to the fuel station operator. The D1 adapter valve lever to the open position. Open the V7 gravity valve. Open the V18 bulk DLE valve. Push the pump engagement lever to the forward. Turn the TC throttle control switch up to the on position. Press the HI high idle switch. Pull out the HAV hand actuated control valve. HAV actuated hand control. HAV and out actuated control valve must be opened to fuel to flow. Squeeze and hold the lever to the open of the HAV hand of the actuated control valve. As soon as the fuel starts flowing, open the V12BL trade check valve if the fuel stops within the approximate 12 seconds, closing the V12BL trade check valve and continuing fuel loading. Caution, do not continue fuel loading and the flow does not stop within 15 seconds after the V12BL pre-check valve and is open and the tanker be damaged. 21. When the tank is full, the fuel will stop automatically, letting go of the HAV hand actuated control valve lever. Pull up and the pump engagement lever is until locked. Guide the hoses back into the reels. Carefully control these through access holes onto the reel. Their failure to do this must result may result in equipment damage. Rewind the HAV hand actuated control valve. How it hoses the reel. Set the THC throttle the control switch down off. Just checking. Checking this. Set the THC throttle control and switch to down off. At the fuel station, operator shows that off the fuel from the fuel supply. The VH18 bulk delay valve closes the V17 gravity valve, disconnects the fuel station and the suction hose of the B gravity receptacle, drain fuel from the fuel station suction hose and dispose of the fuel in accordance with the unit's standard operating procedure. Disconnect the fuel station suction hose of the fuel supply. Set the D1 adapter valve with the lever to close the position. Remove the D1 adapter from the AB receptacle. Drain the fuel from the fuel station suction hose and dispose of the fuel in accordance with the standard operation procedures. Does not disconnect the 3-inch adapters when coupling with the D1 adapter. Disconnect the suction hose with the C bulk receptacle on the unfiltered. Remove the 3-inch adapter coupling in the suction hose of the stow 3-inch adapter coupling in the D1 adapter suction stow the suction hose and return the fuel station suction hose to the fuel station operation. Install the dust caps A, BL, B gravity, and C bulk receptacles. Perform after operations of the performance maintenance check services according to TM 923. 2320 279 and note the DA Form 2404, DA Form 5988E deficiency found that can be repaired, and the operator inform the supervisor if the system is found to be not missionable capable. Disconnect and rewind the SR1 and SR2 static cables close to the pump module rear doors and set the PTO engage switch to off. Check the indicator light goes out and then shuts off the engine. Top loading tank with a tank fuel pump. Top loading will be done on an emergency situation only when the bottom of the tank loading is possible. Only under the orders of the unit commander. Top of the loading of the static electricity vapors to prevent the fire from the explosion. No smoking flame, sparks, glowing hot objects are allowed within 50 feet of the vehicle. Fire explosions may cause the personal injury or the death. To prevent the explosion before cause and electrical static ground safety equipment before opening the manhole. The position tanker controls ensure the pump of the module rear doors are closed. Connects the SR1, SR2 static cables to the fuel source and the grounding devices. Open the manhole and cover. Warning: open the manhole cover slowly to relieve the pressure. If the pressure builds up, personally may be injured. Place the fill stand up the spout of the place the fill stand in the downspout of the manhole opening. The place the hose through the manhole fill the opening so that it touches the bottom of the tank. After the fueling station operates, fills the tank to the desired level. Stop the fuel out. Remove the fill stand downspout houses of the manhole in filling, opening the closing of the manhole cover, and secure the latch. Disconnect the rewind of the SR1, SR2 static cables to stow the fire extinguishers. Performance steps. Load vehicle of the aircraft over the wing of the fuel surfaces. Prepare the vehicle. No smoking flames, sparks, glowing of the hot objects are allowed within 50 feet of the vehicle for the fire explosion for the more cause of the personal injury. Death. Caution. Do not run the tanker car without fuel in the system. This may cause damage to the fuel, the pump, of the hydraulic. Do not press the accelerator during the tanker primary fuel pump operation. Engine speed higher than 1500 RPMs may cause damage to the hydraulic motor of the primary pump. Drain in the flush tank, the compartment filter separated piping system. The new product with the changing of to the different fuel, the different grades of the fuel from the last one carried. Notify organized maintenance to change all filter elements. Failure to do so may result in an equipment damage. Start of the engine in the position vehicle and the fuel servicing. Part vehicle. According to TM, the vehicle is equipped with the self-recovery check of the PTO and gauge switch is set to off. The vehicle is equipped with the self-recovery winch which pushes the selector valve from the tanker pump operation. The set PTO engage switch is on the on position. Open the pump module ear doors. Position the tanker car. Connect the static cables of the vehicle being serviced to the ground device is bonded to the grounded. Fuel servicing. Disengage the hose real tension knob. Remove the rubber tie down straps. Release the fuel service nozzles of the stowage position. Remove the dust cap from the end of the hose. Pull the hose completely out of the hose reel. And engage the hose reel from the tightening of the knob. Remove the fuel service nozzle over the wing of the nozzle of the stowage. Remove this reducer adapter from the storage. Install the reducer adapter on the hose. Install the fuel service of the nozzle over the wing of the nozzle on the hose reduce adapter. Push the V6 fuel to defuel valve control rod. Pull back on the MC manual control EM valve lever. Adjust the V7 reel valve to control the rate of the fuel delivery through the hose. Push the pump engagement lever to the forward. Select the TC throttle control switch to position on. Press the high idle switch. Push on the HAV H-handed actuated control valve to remove the fuel filter. Cover the receiving the vehicle of the aircraft. HAV handed acute control valve must be opened with the fuel to flow. Insert the fuel nozzle over the wing nozzle through the fuel filler. Receive the vehicle on or the aircraft. Squeeze or hold to open the HAV hands actuated control valve. Squeeze and hold the lever on the fuel service nozzles and sorry. The squeeze the HAV hand. Let me check and see if I'm still getting some static. Squeeze the hold lever to the HAV hand actuated control valve. Squeeze the hold lever on the fuel service nozzle. The lever on an over wing nozzle to start the fuel flow. When filled with the desired level, release the lever the HAV handed actuated control valve. The lever to remove the fuel servicing nozzle over the wing nozzle for the receiving vehicle to the aircraft filler. Install the fuel filler with the cover of the receiving vehicle to the aircraft. Note that the tanker must have at least 300 gallons of fuel remaining in order to perform the hose evacuation. Pull out the V6 fuel defuel control rod. Squeeze and hold the lever to the HAV handed actuated control valve. Squeeze and hold the lever on the fuel service nozzle. The lever on the over the wing nozzle evacuating the fuels from the hose. Dispose of the fuel in accordance with the unit of the standard operation procedure. When all the fuel is evacuated from the hose, release the lever to the HAV handed actuated control valve. The HAV hand actuated control valve hose rewind and onto the reel and stow inside of the pump the module. Set the TC throttle of the control switch down to the off position. Pull the pump engage lever until the lock. Push the MC manual control EM the valve lever forward. Close the V7 reel valve. Place the fuel service nozzle into the stowage position. Secure the rubber tie down strap. Remove the fuel service nozzle over the wing of the nozzle and adapter. And reduce the adapter is used to the wing. Over the wing, the nozzle only. If the over the wing nozzle is not used, skip step. Remove the reduce adapter from the house. Put the fuel service nozzle over the wing nozzle. Reduce adapter to the stowage. Remove the crank of the stowage. Release the house of the reel. Hose reel to the tension knob. Put the crank on the crankshaft. Turn the crank to the rewind the hose onto the reel. Install the dust cap on the end of the hose. Engage the hose reel tension knob. Return the crank to the stowage. Disconnect and rewind SR1 and SR2 static cables. Perform after operations PMC according to the TM 9232027910-1. And note the DA Form 2404 and DA Form 598E. Any deficiencies found that cannot be repaired by the operator, inform the supervisor, and the system is found by the non-mission capable. Clear the pump and modular rear doors. Set the PTO. Engage the switch. Shut off the engine. Recirculate the fuel. Prepare the vehicle. Start the engine. Park the vehicle. Start the engine and park the vehicle. The vehicle is equipped with a self-recovery winch. Check on the PTO. Check the PTO engage switch to set off. Caution: do not move the selector valve if the PTO is engaged or vehicle hydraulic may be damaged. If you do not move the selector valve while the PTO is engaged with the vehicle, hydraulic may be damaged. If the vehicle is equipped with a self-recovery winch, push the selector valve for the tanker pump operation. Set the PTO engage switch on. The position indicator light should come on the open module rear doors. Stand clear of avoid injury to the open pump module rear doors. When the door are open about halfway, the gas position push down. Push the doors open quickly with much of the force. Position tanker controls connecting the SR1, SR2 static cables of the grounding device. Remove the dust caps of the ABL receptacles. Remove the dust cap of the hose and disengage the housing reel tension knob. Pull out about 15 feet of the hose from the reel. Engage the hosing reel tension knob. Remove the D1 adapter from the stowage. Connect the D1 adapter for the ABL receptacle. Connect the hose with the D1 adapter and recirculate the fuel. Push the V6 fuel defuel valve control rod. Pull back the MC manual control EM valve lever. Push the pump engagement lever to the forward of the TC throttle control switch up on the position. Press the HI idle switches. Open V7 reel valve. Pull on the HAV hand actuated control valve. Pull out the HAV actuated hand valve. Note the HAV actuated control valve must open the fuel to flow. Squeeze the hold HAV hand actuated control valve lever to recirculate the fuel. When recirculating is completed with the release the HAV handle actuated the control valve lever to move the D1 adapter valve closer to the lever to the closed position. Tank must be holding at least 300 gallons of the fuel in order to perform the fuel hose evacuation. Pull out the V6 fuel defuel valve control rod. Close the V7 reel valve. Shut down the recirculation. Disconnect the D1 adapter from the ABL receptacles. Disconnect the hose from the D1 adapter. Stow the D1 adapter. Squeeze and hold the HAV actuated control valve lever to actuate the fuel from the housing. Dispose of the fuel according to the standard operation with the fuel. procedures. When all fuel is emptied by the hose, release the HAV actuated control valve lever. Install the dust cap on the ABL receptacle that set the TC throttle of the control switch down for the off position. Pull back on the pull engagement lever until locked and push the MC manual control EM valve with the lever forward. Rewind the the HAV handed actuated control valve with a hose on the reel stows inside the pump module. Remove the crank from the stowage of the pump module. Release the hose reel tank tension knob. Put the crank on the crankshaft. Turn the crank. Rewind the hose on the reel. Install the dust cap on the hose. Engage the hose reel to the tension knob and return the crank to the stowage. Perform the after operation of the performance check services according to TM 923202791 and noted DA Form 2404 and DA Form 5988. Any deficiency that found cannot be repaired by an operator. Inform the supervisor if the system is to be found not mission capable. Disconnect and rewind the SR1, SR2 static cables. Close the pump with the module reel doors. Set the PTO engagement switch so the off position indicator light should go out. Shut off the engine. Unload the fuel filter bulk and unloading. Start the engaged position of the vehicle. And for the bulk unloading of the parking vehicle, the vehicle is equipped with the self-recovery winch. Check that the PTO engagement switch is the set off. Caution: does not make the selector value of the PTO is engaged in the vehicle. The hydraulic equipment may be damaged. A vehicle is equipped with a self-recovery winch with the push selector valve for the tanker pump and the operation. The ST set PTO engage the switch of the on position indicator light should come on. Open the pump with the module reel doors. Position the tanker control connection and say cables of the vehicle being in service in the ground devices of the bond on the ground. To remove the dust cap of the C-bulk receptacles. Open the storage tube of the cover to remove the suction hose. Connect one of the end of the suction hose to the C-bulk receptacles and other end of the receiving receptacles. Pull back on the MC manual control EM valve lever to open the V8 bulk delivery valve. Pull on the engagement lever the forward pump. Pull out the HAV hand actuated control valve. The TC throttle control switch up in the on position. Press the high ideal switch. Note the HAV hand actuated control valve must be open for the fuel flow. Squeeze in the whole HAV hand actuated control valve lever to the unload fuel. When the unloading of fuel load is finished, release the HAV hand actuated control valve lever. Set the TC throttle back control the switch down in the off position. Pull back the pump engagement lever until locked. Push the MC manual control EM valve lever forward. Close the V8 bulk delivery valve. Caution the guide hose at the back onto the reel. Carefully guide control through the access holes on the reel. Failure to do so might result in equipment damage. Rewind the hand actuated control valve holes stowed in pump dual module. Remove the remaining of the fuel section hose walking out of the suction hose. Remove the suction of the hose drain of the fuel. Dispose of the fuel in accordance with the standard operation procedure. Stow the suction house. Install the dust cap on the C-bulk receptacle before and after operations. Performing maintenance check services according to TM 923202791. Note the DA Form 2404, DA Form 598AE. Any deficiencies found and cannot be repaired for the operator. Inform the supervisor and system and is found to be not mission capable. And to disconnect the rewind of the SR1 SR2 static capable. Close the pump of the module rear door. Set the PTO engage switch to the opposition indicator light should go without. Shut off the engine and filter gravity bulk and unloading. Preparing the tank for operation. Performing before operation performance maintenance check services according to TM 923202791. A note on the DA Form 2404, DA Form 5988E. If any of the deficiencies of that found and they cannot be repaired by the operator, inform the supervisor and system that is found and not mission capable. Position control. Push the MC manual control EM valve lever full forward and down. Push the V6 fuel devalve fuel in fueling position. Close the V12 and the flow valve regulator. Push the V8 rear valve and the H2 straight up to the close. Close the V8 bulk delay valve. Check the B15 drain valve. Turn the flow meter to reset the knob at the zero scale. Set the TC throttle of the control switch down to the off position. Set the TL tanker lever of the indicator switch down to the off position. Set the APC auxiliary pump control of the APC to the shut off position. Pull the back of the pump engagement lever to the unlock position. Unlocked. Close the V7 of the grade of the valve, closing the V12 of the VL recheck valve. Check the V7 reel valve H1. Move the V3 suction line of the valve handle to the open position, placing the grounding according to the FM1067-1 connection stake static line of the HEMT the ground rod. Both vehicles equipped involved must be grounded before the fueling of the procedure. Position the fuel extinguisher within 5 to 10 feet of the operation. Gauge the fuel gauge. Open the right side of the module rear door. Set the TL1 tanker level indicator and switch to on. Read the tank fuel level on the indicator gauge. If the TL1 tanker level indicator gauge does not show the fuel level reading, check the fuel level of the dipstick according to TM 92320-279-10-1. The ST set the TL1 tanker level indicator switch off position. Close the right side of the pump and the module rear doors. Connect the SR1 SR2 static cables to equipment the receiving of the fuel to the ground of the device. Remove the dust cap from the B gravity receptacle. Open the stowage to the tube of the cover. Remove the suction hose. And B, the gravity receptacle is designed for 4-inch hoses using the Army supplied hose of the gravity discharge of the fuel. Connecting one end of the suction hose to the B gravity receptacle and another end of the receiving receptacle. Pull the MC manual control EM valve lever to open the V7 of the gravity valve to unload the fuel. When unloading the finish of the V7 gravity valve, push the MC manual control EM valve lever to the forward. Remove the suction hose, drain fuel, dispose of all the accordance of the unit of the SOP stove, the suction of the hose, remove the fuel and suction hose of the walking out of the suction hose, install the dust cap on the V gravity receptacles, disconnect this, rewind the SR1, SR2 static cables, close the pump and the module rear doors. Perform the operator's maintenance load on unloaded dispensing products of the M131A5C and the M900 series of the tank vehicles M967, M969, M970. Performing the maintenance checkers. Performing the performance maintenance check services on the tanker vehicles. See the table 3A of the generic performance maintenance check services chart. Consult the most of the current TMs for the details on the check services. Load and unload dispense products of the M131A5C according to TM 923027214. Load the capacity of the hive driving is 500 gallons evenly divided between the two compartments from the cross-country driving, and 300 gallons is evenly divided in top loading using an outside pump of 3-inch suction hose. Warning: top loading on only during the emergency situation by order of the unit of the commander. The top of loading the increase of the vapor and static electricity is greater than increase the chance of the explosion of the fire. Environmental pollution. Bound and ground semi-trailers open the fill cover over the tank of the compartment as you are going to load. Put the house in the drop at the top of the drop. Put the hose in the drop of the tube of the compartment so that it touches the bottom of the tank. Start out the outside of the pump. Fill the tank compartment. After you have completed loading the operation, stop outside the pump and remove the hose and drop the tube, and then close the filler over the valves and remove the bond and the grounding. The top of the loading of the vehicle and the pump of the 3-inch hose using the 3-inch suction hose to form the line between the pump and the intake of the semi-trailer source of the supply. Use as many hose sections as you need from either the tank or the semi-trailer. Issue the point. Open the filler over to the tank compartment as you're going to load. Connect the 3-inch suction hose of the pump, the discharge valve, put it over other end of the hose and the filler covered over the touch so that it touches the bottom of the tank. If you place the hose in other container of the tank vehicle is called the transfer operation. Start the auxiliary entry for the pump pump assembly. Pull out the choke of the control, open the valve of the fuel tank, turn on the both panel of the power switch and ignition. Push the start button if it does start in about 5 seconds. Release the button when a few seconds, and then push it again. Do not do this more than 3 times. If it does not start, then notify organizational maintenance. 4. After engine is warming, check for the leaks and loosen connections. If you see the fixes immediately, operator cannot fix them, he shall notify the organization maintenance to prevent the overheating, keeping the equipment of the cabinet doors until opening the auxiliary engine is running. At the top of the auxiliary engine pump assembly, simply turn off the engine switch and panel power switch. When the auxiliary engine pump of the assembly running smoothly, open the pump and intake of the valve, and the pump and discharge of the valve, and the order the product will then flow into the tank of the compartment. When they have completed loading operation, shut off the auxiliary engine, close all the valves, fill covers, disconnect the drain stove and the 3-inch suction hose, remove the bonding and the grounding wires. Tanker prevention charter. All 3 for auxiliary inspection and leaks and cracks and fuels, oils, and exhaust hoses. No durations, but followed by the check of the unusual noises before operation. Check for the low level of oil, fuel, and the inspection fuel shut off of the valve, and the sediment bowls and leaks and dirts, and both after operations and before operations. Battery. If the inspection of the tightening connection corroded terminals, check the electrolytes before operations. Filter and separator. Inspect the leaks and damages. Checks and pressure each time they use the vehicle. Inspect for leak and damage before, during, and after. Check for pressure differential each vehicle before the operation. Filter separator. Open the valve of the drain water. Leave the dump valve open to the fuel appears the main manual drive valve before operation and after operation. Fire extinguisher. Inspect the control nozzle tubes and the connection mounting leaks and corrosion damages. Check the date of the last weight test. Have the extinguisher weighted test when necessary. Bottom loading using an outside pump of the 3-inch suction hose, bonding the grounding of the vehicle. Using the 3-inch suction hose form a line between the gravity discharge of the following valve of the semi-trailer source of the supply, using many of the hoses section as needed for either the vehicle or the issue point. Upon tank compartment discharge manifold value, the fill cover the tank of the compartment as you are going to the fill. Open the gravity discharge valve at the start of the outside pump. Product will then flow in the tank of the compartments. When the compartment is full, the open tank of the compartment discharge of the valve and the manifold with the other cover of the next compartment as you are going to load. Top of the first compartment of the slowly closing of the manifold valve. When the manifold valve is completely closed by the shut tank of the compartment, discharge of the valve of the fill cover. When you have completed loading the operation, stop outside of the pump, close all the valves and fill the covers, disconnect the drain, stow all the 3-inch suction hoses, remove the bonding, grounding wires from the bottom of the loading of the using of the vehicle, the pump, 3-inch suction hose, bonding of the grounding semi-trailer, using the 3-inch suction hose from the form of the line between the pump and the intake of the valve of the semi-trailer, the subforce of the supply, using as many 3-inch section hoses as you need for either the tank or the issue point. Open the tank of the compartment, discharge the valve, manifold, filler, the cover of the tank of the compartment as you are going to load. As you push the 4-way lever to start the auxiliary engine, push assembly as described in the task. After the auxiliary engine is running smoothly, open the pump and then take of the valve. The product will then start the flow into the tank of the compartment. The compartment is full. Open the tank of the component, the discharge manifold, valve, the filler, the cover of the next compartment as you are going to load. Top of the first compartment, slowly closing the manifold. After the manifold valve is completed and closed, and the tank of the compartment discharge of the valve and filler. When you have completed the loading operation, shut off the auxiliary and close all the valves and fillers and covers. Disconnect the drain and stow the 3-inch suction hoses. Remove the bonding of the grounding wires. Bottom of the loading of the vehicle pump, the 2.5 and the discharge hose, the bonding of the grounding semi-trailer. Remove the standard spout of the 212 of the discharge hosing of the nozzle. Put on the defilling spot. Loosen the 225 GPM hose reel brake and unwinding much of the hoses you need to place the 2.5-inch hose into the container vehicle or aircraft that you are defueling. Open the tank of the discharge of the valve, manifold, and filler cover of the tank compartment as you are going to load. For accountability and defueling operations allows you to load the product in the empty compartment from the other accurately gauged. And see FM 1067-1 for tank gauging procedures. Open the defuel cut off valve, the 225 GP cut off valve, the push the 4-way valve at the operator level. Start the auxiliary engine and pump assembly as described in task. When the auxiliary is running smoothly, squeeze the 2.5 and 12 2.5 inch nozzle operational level and fill tank of the compartment. After you have completed defueling the operation, shut off the auxiliary engine, close all the valves and fillers covers, rewind the 2.5 inch valve, the discharge hose, unload lock of the hose reel, to remove the defaulting spout from the nozzle, replacing the standard spout, remove the bounding of the grounding wires, unload the M131A5C, the gravity discharge, and using 3-inch suction hose, product of the non-filtered measured by the vehicle. A bond in a ground semi-trailer. As the 3-inch suction hose is the formed line between the gravity discharge of the valve and the semi-trailer, recovering the container. Use as many hoses sections as you need from either the tank of the valve and the receiving the container. Open the tank compartment to discharge the manifold valve. Fill the cover of the tank compartment as you're going to empty. Open the gravity discharge product. Product will start the flow from the tank of the compartment. When you have completed unloading the operation, close all the valve, fill, cover the disconnect the drain stow and the 3-inch hoses. Remove the bonding and the grounding wires. Pressure to discharge using the vehicle of the pump of the 3-inch suction hose, the bond of the grounding semi-trailer, using the 3-inch suction hose through the form of the line between the top pump of the discharge valve of the semi-trailer receiving the container. You use as many 3-inch hoses sections as you need from either the tank of the valve at the receiving point. Open the tank compartment of the discharge valve of the manifold valve. Fill the cover of the tank compartment as you're going to unload. Pull out the 4-way valve lever. Start auxiliary pump of the assembly as described in the task. When auxiliary is running smoothly, open the pump cut off and valve of the discharge valve of the product, and will flow to the receiving container. When you have completed an unloading operation, shut off the auxiliary engine and then close all the valves and fill the covers. Disconnect the drain stow all 3-inch hoses. Remove the bonding and the grounding wires. Dispose of the product repressor using of the vehicle. The 2.5-inch discharge hose bound and ground the semi-trailer. Loosen the 225 GPM hose reel. Use unwinding as much 2.5-inch discharge hose as you need to place the nozzle in a receiving container. Open the tank compartment to discharge the valve manifold and the fill cover of the compartment as you are going to the service. Open the 225 GPM, the cut off the valve, cut off the pump. Put out all the 4-way valve of the lever. Make sure the meter is 0. Start auxiliary engine pump of the assembly as described in the task. Squeeze the 212-pin nozzle operating lever of the fill container. When you have completed with the full fuel service operation, shut off the auxiliary engine. Shut off the auxiliary engine, close the valve and the filler, cover the wind the discharge hose and the lock of the hose reel. Move the bonding of the grounding wires, dispense the product under the pressuring under the vehicle with the pump of the 1.5-inch discharge hose. Testing. We had some technical difficulties. I believe we were let's start a dispenser product under the pressure using the vehicle, the pump, and the 2.5-inch discharge hose. A bond in the ground, the semi-trailer. Loosen the 225 GPM, the hose reel, the breaker. Unwind the 2.5-inch discharge hose as you need at the base of the valve, nozzle and the valve receiving the container. Open the tank of the compartment, discharge the valve manifold, and fill the cover of the compartment as you are going using the service item. Open the 225 GPM cutoff valve with the cutoff. Pull out all four-way valve levers. Make sure the meter counter is 0. For starting the auxiliary engine pump, the assembly is described in the task. Squeeze the 2.5-inch nozzle operating lever in the fill container when you have completed the fuel service operation. Shut off the auxiliary engine and close all the valves and the filler covers. Rewind the discharge hose and the lock of the hose reels. Remove the binding and the grounding wires. Dispense and under the pressure of using the vehicle pump the 1.5-inch discharge hose of the binding and the grounding semi-trailer. Loosen 0.55 GPM hose reel breaker. Real brake, unwind the MOS 1.5 discharge hose as you need to place, and the nozzle is receiving the container. Open the tank in the compartment, the discharge manifold valve with the filling and the cover of the compartment as you are using the fill the receiving container. Set 0 to 55 GPM selector valve at the flow rate that you need the operation. Open the pump, the cutoff valve, pull out all the four-way lever. Make sure the meter counter is 0. Start the auxiliary engine pump. The assembly is described in the task. Squeeze the 1.5-inch nozzle operating lever in the fill container. When you have completed the fuel service operation, shut off the auxiliary engine, then close all the valves and the fill covers. Rewind, discharge, and lock the hose reel. Remove the binding and the grounding wires. Dispensing the fuel using the gravity discharge of the 2.5-inch discharge hose. Product is metered by, not filtered by a vehicle. Alright, bound and ground the semi-trailer. Loosen the 225 hose reel, but brake. Unwind the 2.5-inch discharge hose as you need to place the nozzle in the receiving container. Open the tank of the compartment, the discharge valve, manifold valve with the fill cover of the compartment as you are using the service of the item. Open the 225 GPM cutoff valve, G-fuel cutoff valve, the pump cutoff valve, push in the four-way valve lever. Make sure the meter count is on 0. Squeeze the 2.5-inch nozzle operating lever of the fill container. When you are completed with the fuel service operation, close all the valves and fill covers. H. Rewind the discharge hose and the lock hose reel. Remove the binding and the grounding wires. Load and unload dispense with the product of the 900 series M967 and the M969 and M970. The fuel tanker according to TM92320. 35614. Operating auxiliary engine of the pump of the assembly, M967, M969, M970, the tank of the semi-trailers. Park the semi-trailer on the level ground of the set of the brakes and check the wheels on the placing of the wooden and the block in between the fore and the rear of the tandem of the tires of the rear axle. Bottom of the grounding semi-trailer, turn of the engine switch to the run, turn the preheater switch on for the 1 of the minute. Be sure the indicator light has come on after the 1 of the minute, continuing to hold the preheater switch to the turn switch either to start restart the start switch to the preheater switch that after each starts does not engage the starting from more than 10 seconds at a time. Check the gauge for the current indication. Stop engaging in the system of the malfunction indicated. After the engine is warm, check the leaks, loose connections. If you see any of the fixing them, once take the vehicle organizational maintenance. To stop the auxiliary engine of the pump of the assembly to do the following. 1. Throttle the engine of the fast idle to 1200 RPMs per minute, about 5 minutes before stopping to allow the gradual cooling off the engine. Release the throttle to the idle position. Turn the engine to stop. Remove the binding and the grounding wires. Top loading with a hose. Product is not filtered metered by the vehicle. Be sure all valves are closed. Ground the semi-trailer. Load the hose of the storage facility may have the metal fitting on the free end of the hose and may not be bonded internally. Such that the fitting is insulated when it could become charged. Bonding and grounding the semi-trailer before opening it and filling the cover. Remove the fire extinguisher before bringing them into the point of operation. Slowing open the fill cover. Insert the hose enough to keep the end of the hose in contact with the bottom of the tank. Slowly begin the flow of the fill tank no further than the bottom of the capacity indicator. Remove the fill hose. Secure the manhole cover. Drain the accumulated water. Close all the valves. Put container under the manifold training piping control cabinet. Open the emergency operator valve. Slowly open the system drain. The M969 and M970 models are also drain filter separated. The other fill separators inlet the push container under the filter separator drain valve to slowly open the valve, allow the fill separator to drain until the fuel begins to flow. Close all the valves and remove the M969 and M970 model drain pilots. Open the drain valves behind the pumping of the control assembly behind the emergency off-tank and valve and hose reel cabinet. Allow any of the water to driven in the approximate in the containers. Remove the grounding of the wire. Stop the fire extinguisher. Before loading, the product is not filtered about the vehicle. Be sure all the valves are closed. Bond the ground of the vehicle and bonding ground of the vehicles. Remove the cover from the bottom and load of the connection. Bottom and load of the hose and before the bottom and load of the connection. Before the fire extinguisher. Bring them to the point of operation. Open on the M967 and the M969 and pull the selector to the load position. Open the emergency valve operator. Begin the flow of the outside source. Performance steps. After following the beginning over the pre-check of the pre-check shut-off valve, the flow should stop after the 20 to 25 to indicate the flow to the functional is not wrong with the stop of all operation. Notify the maintenance of the pre-check. Close pre-check of the valve. The flow will resume in the 20 seconds. The tank is the flow should not stop automatically. Close all the valve. Replace the covers and disconnect the hoses. Be prepared to stop the fuel. Be prepared to fuel stop at the loading facility and vent of the shut off the float malfunction at least unusual condition apparent. Drain accumulated water in the same manner as the top of the loading. Move the ground wires to the fire extinguishers. Self-loading using the vehicle engine of the pump of the M967 and M969. Product of the no-filtered meter of the vehicle. Be sure all the valves are closed. Bond of the ground of the vehicle. Remove the fire extinguisher and bring it to the point of the operation. Start the engine of the pump of the assembly as described in the task warm that the engine of the adjusted the speed from 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Move 4 inches of the bulk fuel hose from the hose through disconnect the spring pins, turning the hose through the bars out of the way. Remove the dust cap from the fuel outlets. Connect one of the end of the bulk hose to the outlet of the other end of the storage facility. Pull the selector of the valve load out position. Open the operator valve, fuel operated outlet valve, manifold outlet valve, and adjust engine throttle for the desired flow rate. Shut it. Early after they started to open the pre-check valve, the pre-check the shut-off flow after the about 20 to 25 second shutdown should stop to let you know that the flow is working properly. If it is not working, stop all operations notifying higher maintenance. Check, close and pre-check valve. Flow will resume with about 20 seconds when the tank is full. Flow should stop automatically. In an emergency, close the operated valve and then pull the emergency valve shut off the opposite side of the trailer. At the end of the operation, idle down the engine. Close all the valves. Disconnect 4-inch fuel hoses. Put in the hose in the throw-off. Secures the throw-off latches. Stop the engines. Drain the accumulated water in the same manner as top loading. Remove the grounding wires. Store the fire extinguisher. Self-loading using the vehicle engine of the pump M970. The product is filtered and metered in the vehicle. Be sure all the vehicles are closed. All the valves are closed. Open the house and reel cabinet. Pull out the release cable. Lift to the door to both of the hands bound to the ground of the vehicle. Remove the 4-inch bulk fuel hose from the hose trough. To do this, disconnect the spring pins and turning the hose trough the bars out of the way, connecting the bulk fuel house to the outlet. Remove the fire extinguisher, bringing them to the point of operation. 1. Start the engine pump that's described in the task. When the engine is warm, adjust the idle speed at 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Release the lock on the 2.5 to the hose reels, unreel hose fuel. Remove the dust cap from the bottom of the load adapter, connecting underwinding nozzle. Turn the lever on the side of the nozzle to open the nozzle. Open the operator valve. Fuel outlet valve, the manifold outlet valve with the filter separated in the inlet valve house and the relet in valve. Unreal dead man control squeeze lever. Meter inlet pressure gauge should be read at a minimum of 25,000 per square inch. Release the dead man control. If the gauge does not read a minimum of 25 psi, shut down the operation. Contact organization maintenance of the person. Adjust the engine throttle to the desired flow rate. Squeeze and hold the lever to the dead man control. Shortly after the flow has begun, pre-check the D to open the position of the pre-check the automatic shut-off valve. At about 20-25 seconds, flow should indicate the flow is working properly. If it is not working, stop all the operations and notify here the maintenance. A. Turn on the pre-check of the valve, the closed position, free flow, resume in about 20 seconds. In emergency release, the dead man control and flow should stop. At the end of the operation, release the dead man control, adjusting the engine speed as idle to 1,1200. Rewind the dead man control hose closes in a single point of the nozzle. Disconnect the nozzle from the bottom of the load of the adapter. Reinstall the dust cap on the bottom of the load adapter. Single point of the nozzle, evacuating the hose. Rewinding the 2.2.5 hose described in the task of the tightening hose of the relock of the check close of the valve. Remove the 4-inch bulk fuel hose connecting the semi-trailer to the storage facility. The store hose and the hose of the trough and secure the trough latches. Reinstall the dust cap outlet. Shut off the engine. Remove the ground wire. Close the hose of the rear cabinet door. Latch it in place. Store the extinguisher. Unloading a 900 series of trailers. Gravity discharge using a 4-inch suction hose. Product is now filtered or metered to the vehicle. Be sure all vehicles are closed and bonded to the ground of the vehicle. Remove 4 inches of the delivery through hose through the trough. Do not do this by disconnecting the spring and through turning the hose through the bars out of the way. Removing the dust cap of the fuel outlet, connecting the hose to the outlet storage in the storage facility. Removing fire extinguisher, bringing them to the point of operation on M967s and M969s. Make sure selector valve is in unload position. Open the operator, the manifold, inlet, outlet valve, fuel outlet valve, and on at the end of operation, close of the valves, disconnect and put in the hose through and secure the hose through the latches. Reinstall the dust cap on the fuel outlet and drain accumulated water in the same manner. Loading procedure, removing the bonding of the grounding wire store and the fire extinguisher. Discharge product and under pressure of the vehicle pump at the 4-inch suction hose. Product is not the filter meter of the vehicle. Be sure all the valves are closed in the bound of the ground of the vehicle. Semi-trailer. Remove the fire extinguisher, bringing them to the point of operation. Start the engine pump as described in the task. When the engine is warm, adjust the throttle of the idle speed of 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Remove the 4-inch of the delivery hose from the trough. Does this disconnect the springs from the pins or the turning hose through the bars out of the way? Remove the dust cap from the fuel outlet. Connect the hose of the outlet to the storage facility. M967, M9699, and put the selector on unload position. M970, the rear selector valve at the closed position. Operating the valve, the manual fold inlet outlet valve of the fuel dispensing nozzle. Adjusting the engine to throttle the desired flow rate. At the end of the operation, idle down the engine. Put the bulk fuel hose through the sector latches. Stop the engine. Drain automatically the water in the same manner as the loading procedure. Remove the bonding and grounding wire. Store the fire extinguisher. 12. Pressure the discharge of the vehicle. The pump 4.5 inches of the M969. The M969 and the M970 product of the filtered non-meter of the vehicle. Be sure all the valves are closed in the bottom of the ground of the vehicle. Remove the 4-inch bulk delivery hose of the trough. Do not disconnect the spring pins, turning the hose through the bars out of the way. Remove the dust cap of the fuel discharge, connecting the bulk fuel hoses to the outlet of the storage facility. Remove the fire extinguisher, bring them to the point of operation. Start the engine and pump as described. When the engine is warm, add the throttle of the idle to 1,1200 RPMs. Put the selector valve in the unload position. Unload upon operating in operative valve, main inlet, outlet, filter separator, inlet valve, and the fuel nozzle valve. Adjust the engine throttle for the desired flow rate. Do not exceed 100 GPM through the filter separator when pumping the diesel fuel. Gasoline can be pumped at up to 200 GPMs. At the end of the adjustment engine, the idle is 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Close at all valves. Remove all the hose and the stores and the house and troughs. Secure the latches. Reinstall the dust cap onto the outlet. Stop the engine. Remove the bonding and the grounding of the wires. Store the fire extinguisher. Dispense the non-filter use of the vehicle pump. The 1.25 inch discharge hose of the M969. Be sure all the valves are closed. Bond on the ground of the vehicle. New vehicles are serviced, and make sure that both are grounded using separately static reels. The M969 is equipped with 2 static reels. Remove the fire extinguisher. Bring them into the point of operation. Performance steps. D. Starting the engine pump is described in the task. When the engine warm is adjusted the throttle speed 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Put the selector in the valve in the unload position. Open the valve, fuel system valve, and the fuel manual fold inlet valve to the right side of the nozzle bank. Inlet valve the reset to 0, pushing in the reset nozzle, turning in the clockwise on. When the hose in the reel inlet valve, adjust the engine throttle for the desired flow rate. Release the lock of the hose reel. Unrelease the hose and insert the nozzle into vehicle fuel tank in the container. Squeeze the nozzle trigger to start the flow. Release the nozzle trigger. Remove the nozzle trigger from the vehicle fuel tanker container at the end of the operation. Idle down the engine 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Rewind the hose as described in the task. Tighten it as the hose of the reel lock. Close the valve. Stop the engine. Remove the binding of the grounding wire. Store the fire extinguisher. When using a static ground cable, the reel do not let go of the static reel cable when rewinding the ball stop is firmly touching the reel. Dispense filter. Use of the vehicle pump with the 1/4 inch discharge of the M696 product is metered to L, filtered by the vehicle. Be sure all the valves are closed and the bottom of the ground of the vehicle. Remove the fire extinguisher, bring it to the point of the operation. Start the engine and pump as described in the task. When the engine is warm, adjust the idle speed to 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Put the selector valve in the unloaded position. Open the operator of the manifold inlet filter, the separate inlet valve of the operator housed in the inlet valve. Reset the meter to zero, pushing in the reset knob and turning the clockwise, adjusting the engine throttle to the proper flow rate. Releasing the lock on the hose of the B used, unreleasing the hose completely to insert the nozzle into the vehicle being services. Squeeze nozzle trigger to start the flow. The release of this nozzle trigger to the end of the operation is removing the nozzle from the vehicle and adjusting the engine to the idle speed of 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Rewind the hose as described in the task. Tighten the hose of the reel lock. Close all the valves. Stop the engine. Remove the binding and the grounding wire. Stop the store of the fire extinguisher. Performance steps. Whenever using the static ground of the reel, do not let go of the cable, rewinding it until the ball is stopped and touching firmly. Recirculating using the vehicle, the 2.5 inch 12 and the discharge, the 970 product of the meter to the filter of the vehicle. Open the hose of the reel to the cabinet door. Make sure all the valves are closed. Remove all the fire extinguisher. Bring them to the point of operation. Remove the fire extinguisher. Bring them to the point of operation. Release on the 2.5 inch hose of the reel on the reel of the hose. All of the hose. Remove the dust cap of the recirculation fitting, including the single point of the nozzle fitting. Open the single point of the nozzle, turning the hand of the side of the nozzle, opening the operating valve manifold. Open the operating manifold inlet valve with the filter. Separate the inlet valve with the reel inlet valve with the set engine throttle as desired on the flow rate. Unreal dead man control. Squeeze control of the dead man control of the start of the flow. Meter inlet and the pressure gauge should be indicated the minimum of 25 pm. Side and the minimum of 25 psi is indicated with the showdown of operation contact. Original maintenance personnel. The air source must be available for the dead man operation. At the end of the operation, the release of the dead man control and adjusted the engine to idle speed 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Rewind the dead man control. Close and single point of the nozzle. Disconnect the nozzle recirculation fitting. Replace the dust cap on the fitting. Activate the hose as described in the task. Rewind the 2.5 inch hose as described in the task and tighten the hose on the reel lock. Close all the valves and shut off the engine. Close all the reel cabinet doors. Latch it in place. Store the fire extinguisher. Recirculate the using of the vehicle pump of the 1.5 inch discharge hose of the M970. The product is metered and filtered in the vehicle. Open the hose of the reel cabinet door. Make sure all the valves are closed. Remove the fire extinguisher. Bring them into the port of operation. Start the engine of the pump as described in the task. And when the engine is warm, adjust the idle speed 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Release the lock of the 1 and 112 hose of the reel. Unreel all the hose. Remove the dust cap of the recirculation fitting of the connecting of the covering of the fitting. Operating the valve manifold filter. Separating the inlet valve housing. The reel inlet valve. If the 2.5 inch hose was used, then 1.5 inch depressing hold dead of the man. Release the plunger into the house of the reel cabinet for the 5 to 10 seconds to deactivate the dead man system. This is a procedure and is not followed by no fuel and will flow into the 1.5 inch of the hose. Set engine throttle as desired at a flow rate. Squeeze the trigger on the overriding over the wing nozzle. At the end of the operation, release the trigger on the over the wing nozzle. Adjust the engine to the idle speed 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Evaluate the hose, rewinding the 112 and the hose as described in the task. Tighten the hose of the reel lock and close all the valves and shut off the engine. Remove the converter over the wing of the nozzle and spout of the nozzle. Close the hose of the reel of the cabinet and latch it in place. Do not slam the door. Store the fire extinguisher. 18. Dispense fuel and single point of the unwinding of the aircraft using the vehicle pump of the 212. Discharge the hose of the M970 to open the hose of the reel cabinet door. Be sure all the valves are closed. Bound to the ground of the vehicle. Remove the fire extinguisher. Bring them to the point of operation. Start the engine of the pump as described in the task. When the engine is adjusted at idle speed of 1,200 RPMs when the operator valve and the manifold valve and the filter upper valve and the inlet valve and the housing wheel inlet valve open. Reset the meter to the zero, pushing the meter to the reset knob and turning it clockwise, adjusting the engine through the desired flow rate. The breakaway fitting of the safety feature of the 2.5-inch hose of the consists of the breakaway coupling and installed with the housing of the outlet of the port of the housing of the reel. Aircraft is moved to the single point of the nozzle and attached with the wing and the coupling of the brake of the part of so the hose is pulled and tightened against the coupling to prevent the damage of the aircraft. Release the lock on the 2.5-inch hose of the unreel all 50 feet of the hose to ensure the breakaway feature will be operable. Warning: proper bonding of the semi-trailer to aircraft will be, while it's being refueled, mandatory to do the dangers of the static electricity bond of the fuel nozzle, the ground of the wire to the aircraft before bringing the nozzle to the contact of the aircraft. Attach the single nozzle of the ground wire to the aircraft. Contact the side point of the nozzle to adapter on the aircraft. Open the nozzle, the turning lever on the side of the nozzle. Disconnect over the wing of the nozzle, converted to the recirculation fitting. Reinstall the dust cap on the fitting of the unreeled dead man control hose. Activate the dead man control by the depressing control level of the meter inlet. The gauge should release a minimum of 25 psi. If the gauge does not read a minimum of 25 psi, should the down operating of the contact originalize a organizational maintenance. Release the dead man control at the end of the operation. Adjust the engine to the idle speed of 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. Rewind the dead man control hose. Close the single point of the nozzle. Disconnect the nozzle from the aircraft. Disconnect the nozzle from the ground wire. Evacuate the hose of the described in the task. Rewind the 2.5-inch hose in the described in the task. Close all the valves and shut-off valves. Remove the bounding of the grounding wires. Disconnect the ground wire grounding connection of the first aircraft and from the grounding of the stud. Close all the reel cabinet using the bolt of the lands and then latch into place and store in the firing extinguishers. Performance steps. When using the static ground control, do not let go of the cable when rewinding until the ball has stopped touching the reel. Dispensing the full close of the circuit over the wing of the aircraft, using the vehicle to pump 1.5-inch discharge of the hose of the M970. Product is filter meter of the vehicle, the over wing of the fuel. Dispensing the operation, use the meter by the vehicle over the wing of the fuel dispensing operation used the fuel winged aircraft, the fill port of the aircraft wings, and the closed circuit of the fuel dispensing operation used the fuel helicopters. Open the hose of the reel of the cabinet door. Make sure all the valves are closed, bonding the ground of the vehicles. Remove the fire extinguisher. Bring them to the point of operation. Start the engine pump up as described in the task. When the engine is warm, adjust the idle speed to 1,200 RPMs. Open the operator manifold filter separator inlet valve of the hose reel valve. Reset the zero, pushing in the meter. Reset the knob and turning it into clockwise. And if 2.5 12 hose was used, then 1.5 12-inch hose. Depress and hold down dead man release plunger. If it was in his hose reel cabinet for the 5 to 10 seconds to activate the dead man system. The procedure is not followed, but no fuel will be flowing in the 1.5-inch hose. Adjust the engine through the desired flow rate. Release the lock of 1.5-inch hose reel. Unreel hose is far enough to reach for each aircraft. All right, warning. Proper bonding of a semi-trailer to an aircraft while refueling is mandatory due to the dangers of static electricity. Bond fuel nozzles grounded the wire to the aircraft, bring nozzles in contact with the aircraft. Before removing an aircraft fill cap, attach the nozzle ground wire to the aircraft. Insert the over the wing nozzle to the fill part of the aircraft that connects and closing the circuit or connects the closed circuit nozzle to the helicopter. Squeeze the nozzle and control the hand on the closed circuit nozzle. Completely extension of the red indicator indicates the no flow. At the end of the operation, release the over the wing of the nozzle. Trigger return the circuit nozzle the handle to the no flow position. Do not disconnect the ground wire before removing the nozzle. Always remove the nozzle first. Remove the over the wing of the nozzle and disconnect the circuit nozzle is pulling the actuating cable loop. Reinstall the aircraft fill cover. Evacuate the hose. Rewind at 1.5-inch hose. Tighten the hose with the rear lock. Close all the valves and shut off the engine. Remove the bonding of the grounding wires. Disconnect the grounding connection from the first aircraft to the grounding stud. Close all the housing reel out of the door using both hands as a latch in place and storing the fire extinguisher. Caution: when using a static ground cable reel, do not let go of the cable, rewinding until the ball is stopped in the firmly touching the reel. Defuel the using the vehicle pump with the 1.5-inch, 2.5-inch discharge and the hose. The M970 the product is metered or filtered by the vehicle. The defueling hose must be available at the site. The semi-trailer does not include a defueling hose. Opening the hose reel cabinet door. Be sure all valves are closed. Removing all the fire extinguisher, bring them into the operation. Start the engine of the pump and describe the task. When the engine is warm, adjust the idle speed to 1,000 and 1,200 RPMs. Bond and ground vehicle. Paper grounded the semi-trailer aircraft while the being of the refueled is mandatory due to the dangers of static electricity. Blown on fuel nozzle ground wire the aircraft of the bringing the nozzle into contact with the aircraft. Release the lock on 1.5 to 2.5-inch hose reels. Unreel the hose of the fuel length to remove the dust on the top. Load adapter connect. Connect single point nozzle to adapter. Open the single point of the nozzle by the turning pan handle on the size of the nozzle. Remove the dust cap from the inlet. Connect the defueling hose in the inlet. Connecting the defueling hose grounded the wire to the effect of the connecting the hose to the aircraft. Connecting the adapter to the recirculating fitting on the tank valve. Open the operator's valve manifold. Fill separator's inlet valve of the hose reel inlet valve. Reset the meter of the zero, the pushing and the reset knob, the turning of the clockwise, and 2.5 inches hose of the use the 1.5-inch below hose to press and the hold dead of the man and release of the plunger and the hose of the reel cabinet for the 5 to 10 seconds to deactivate the dead man system. The procedure is not followed. No fuel will flow into the 1.5-inch hose. Set in the engine throttle to the desired flow rate. Under the dead man control switch, use the trigger on the dead man control to start the flow. Main inlet pressure gauge should indicate the minimum of 25 psi. The minimum of 25 psi is indicated. Shut down the operation. Contact the originalization man's person. Shortly after the flow begins, the turn of the pre-check valve, the open position to pre-check the automatic shut-off valve. About the 20 to 25 flow should stop and indicate the flow was working properly and is not working. Stop all the operation. Notify the higher the maintenance. Return the pre-check valve at the closed position. The fuel flow resumes in about 20 seconds. When the tank is in flow, they should stop automatically in operation. Release the dead man control and adjust the engine idle speed from 1,000 to 12,000 RPMs. Rewind the dead man control hose. Remove the defueling hose from the aircraft and remove the hose from the ground wire. Disconnect the defueling hose from the inlet. Replace the dust cap on the inlet. Close the point of the nozzle. Disconnect the nozzle from the bottom of the loader adapter. Replace the dust caps and adjusters and nozzles. Evacuate the hose as described in the task. Rewind the hose and described in the task. Tighten the hose in the reel lock and choke all the valves with the shut-off engine. Remove the bonding of the grounding wires. Disconnect the grounding connection from the first of the front aircraft from the grounding of the stud. Close all the hose reel cabinet doors and latch it, please. Do not slam the door. Store in the fire extinguisher. When using the static ground of the capable reel, do not let go of the cable when rewinding it until the ball is firmly reeled. Load dispense of petroleum products of the M969A3 5,000 gallon tanker according to TM 92330 3980. 39810. Bottom end loading on filter. Using a using self-contained overfill prevention system to ensure all the valves are closed and ground semi-trailer or tanks to fill the rack ground. And hooking up the vapor recovery system available. The vapor recovery system is not available. Open the vapor recovery outlet slowly on the opposite side of the loading operation. That will let the fumes vent away from the operating window while loading. Removing the cover of the bottom of the loading connection. Connecting the bottom of the loading or the housing of the bottom of the loading connection. Alright, bring a fire extinguisher to the point of operation. Open the valve D and begin the valve flow. Within the filling of the tank by the means of the bottom of the loading, the test of the pre-check system, the mandatory. If the system is not functional, stop all the operation. Determine the problem of having the corrector of the qualified technician. Failure of the automatic shut-off of the function may result in the uncontrolled fuel slip, pillage, and the danger of the fire explosion. After the flow has begun, they close the valve to pre-check the shut-off the flow. The flow is functional and the flow should stop after about 20 to 25 seconds. The D-valve of the flow should remove. Open the D-valve flow should resume in about 20 seconds. When the tank is full and flow should stop automatically. Close all the valves and disconnect the hoses and replace all the covers. Drain accumulated water. Ensure all the valves are closed. Put a container under the manifold. Drain in the piping of the controlling cabinet. Open the emergency valve with the slowly open the hand valve to the HNG. Although the fuel is drained until pure fuel begins to flow. Close the valves HA, emergency valve A. Remove the ground wires and store the cover in a fire extinguisher. Bottom loaded using the rack monitored electronically. Overfill the prevention system, ensuring the valves are closed and ground semi-trailer tanker. Warning: always stand inside open vapor recovery outlet. Hook up the vapor recovery outlet if available. If the vapor recovery item system is available, open the vapor recovery outlet at the opposite side of the loading operation. This will let the fumes vent away from the operating when loading. Remove the cover from the bottom of the loading connection. Connect the racks by bottom of the loading hose at the bottom of the loading connection. Bring the fire extinguisher to the point of operation. Connect the overfill prevention cable as a terminal to proper overfill the socket of the tank. Check out the Civicon monitor for the errors and make sure the green permanent light is on. Open the valve D and begin the flow. After the flow has begun, close the valve D and pre-check the shutoff outflow. Is a functional flow should stop after 20-25 seconds. Open the valve D. Flow should resume in about 20 seconds when the tank closes the valve D, disconnects, and over the prevention cable to replace all the covers. Drain and accumulated water ensures that all the valves are closed, but containing under the manifold drain and piping the control cabinet other than emergency valve. Slowly open the valves H and J. All allow fuel to drain until the pure fuel begins to flow. Close the valve H and J, emergency A, remove the grounding wire store and the covers of fire extinguishers. 22 gravity unloaded the M969A3. Ensure all the valves are closed. Connect the grounding wire to the storage facility, grounding the side of the semi-trailer. Remove the 4 inches bulk delivery hoses and tanker hose of the tube. Remove the dust cover of the outlet B, connecting the hose to the storage outlet. Connecting the hose to the outlet B to the storage facility. Open the vapor recovery outlet cap over the vapor recovery line to allow airflow into the tank during the unloading process. Remove the fire extinguisher, bring to that point of operation. Open the valves A, H, G, and B to the beginning of the flow. At the end of the operation, close all the valves, disconnect the hose, and put it in the hose tube. Secure the hose in the tube latch. Reinstall the dust cover on the outlet B and reinstall the cap on the vapor recovery outlet. Drain accumulated water. Ensure that all the valves are closed. Put all the container under the manifold, draining in the pipe of the control cabinet. Open the emergency valve A. Slowly open the valves H and J. Allow it to drain until the pure fuel begins to flow. Close the valve H and J, emergency valve A. Remove the grounding wires storing on the cover of the fire extinguisher self and loaded, not filtered fuel services involving use of the engine and pump. Ensure all valves are closed and connect static reel to the storage facility to bring the fire extinguisher to the point of operation. Start the engine. When the engine is warm, adjust to the idle speed 1,200 RPMs. Remove 4-inch bulk fuel hose from the hose. Remove the dust cover from the outlet of the B, connecting the bulk fuel hose to the outlet storage facility. Open the vapor recovery outlet. Open the valve of the BEDG and adjusting the engine throttle for the desired flow rate shortly after the flow has stopped. Shortly after the flow has started, the close of the D-check pre-check valve to shut off of the flow. The functional flow should stop after 20 to 25 seconds. Open the valve D and the flow will resume in about 20 seconds. And the tank flow should stop automatically. At the end of the operation, idle down the engine. Check all the valves. Disconnect the 4-inch bulk fuel hose and put them into the hose tube. Secure the hose tube latch. Stop the engine drain accumulated water in the same manner as the top loading of removing the grounding wire store and covering fire extinguishers. Hose evacuation M969AA3. Purging and the removing of the fuel dispensing system must be done after every operation that using the defensive hose. Using the following procedures to purge the hose to ensure all the valves are closed and bring the fire extinguisher at the point of operation. Start the engine when warm. Adjust the idle speed 1,012 RPMs. Open the valve the AGEK. Open the valve the PR which used to evacuate the 1/4 inch of hose. Set the engine throttle to the maximum 2,400 RPMs for the few seconds until the evacuation is completed. Meters backwards slow until the fuel is evacuated. Idle down the engine. Close all the valves. Stop the engine store and cover the fire extinguisher. Non-filters dispensation. Ensure that suspension. Ensure that all the valves are closed and unreal static reel cables cabinet into the suitable ground of the automotive unit in the container to bring fire the extinguisher to the point of operation. Start the engine. Then when the engine is warm, adjust the throttle to the idle speed of 1,1200 RPMs. Remove the cap on the vapor recovery outlet. Open the valves AH and FK. Open the hose of the reel cabinet door. Remove the meter of the pushing of the reset knob, the turning of the clockwise, unreal dispensing the hose that you are using other than the corresponding to the P&R hose in the beginning. And make sure the fuel dispensing nozzle is on the end of the hose being used. Adjust engine of the throttle to the desired flow rate. Insert the nozzle of the vehicle fuel tank container. Squeeze the nozzle trigger to start the flow. At the end of the operation, realize the nozzle trigger and remove the nozzle of the vehicle fuel tank cleaner. Idle down the engine to 1,1200 RPMs. Close all the valves. Evacuate the hose. Ensure all the valves are closed. Open the valves to A, G, E, and K. Open the valve P and R, which are used to evacuate the 1 1/4 inch hose. Set an engine throttle to the maximum speed of 2,400 RPMs for the few seconds of the evacuation is completed. Meters to turn backward slowly until the fuel is evacuated. Idle down the engine, close all the valves, rewind the hose, stop on the engine, disconnect the rewind the static ground wire, store the cover of the fire extinguisher, filter bulk delivery, ensure all the valves are closed, connect the grounding of the wire to the storage facilities in the semi-trailer, remove the 4-inch bulk fuel hose and the hose of the tube of the connecting it into the receiving facility. Remove the dust cap from the outlet of the outlet B connecting the bulk fuel hose to the outlet. Bring forth the fire extinguisher to the point of operation. Start the engine when warm and adjusting the speed of the idle 1,1200 RPMs. Move the cap of the vapor recovery outlet to allow the fuel back into the tank. Open the valves A, B, H, and MK. Adjust the engine throttle to the desired flow rate. End of the operation design at the idle speeds of 1,1200 RPMs. Close all the valves. Remove all the valves. Store in the hose tubes. Close the hose tubes. Reinstall the dust covers of the outlet and shut off the engage. Remove the ground wire. Cover the store fire extinguishers. Alright, we're getting on 27. Filtered fuel dispension. Ensure all the valves are controlled and unreel the static reel and connect the cable to the first grounding stud, then turn to the vehicle. Bring the fire extinguisher to the point of operation. Start the engine warm up at the adjusting speed of 1,1200 RPMs. Move the cap of the vapor recovery outlet of the flow of the back of the tank. Open the valves AH, M, and PR, depending on which of the hose reel is to be used. If both the hoses reels are to be used, open the bolt of P and R. Reset the measures to 0 to pushing of the meters. Reset knob, turning the clockwise, adjusting the engine to the throttle to the desired flow rate. Unreel the hose and completely make sure the fuel dispensing nozzle is on the end of the hose. Open the safety valve of the nozzle. Insert the nozzle in the vehicle being serviced. Squeezable nozzle and trigger to start the flow. Release the nozzle trigger at the end of the operation. Remove the nozzle from the vehicle. Decrease the engine speed to idle 1,1200 RPMs. Close all the valves and evacuate the hose. Ensure all the valves are closed. Open all the A, E, and G, and K. Open the P and R, which was used to evacuate the 1 1/4 inch hose. Set the engine through the throttle to maximum 2,400 RPMs for the few seconds of evacuation completed. Meter turns backward slowly until the fuel is evacuated. Idle down the engine. Close all the valves. Rewind the hose, and you can automatically rewind the hose and then use the handle to rewind the last few of the feet. Do not rewind both the hose and the reels at the same time. Place the vapor recovery outlet cap and shut off the engine. Disconnect the static reel cables from the vehicle from the ground. Rewind the static reel cable cover to the cover of the fire extinguisher. Alright, we're coming up on page 100. I'm going to check. We're on 99. I want to see if there's a stopping point here. Okay, it looks like we're going to 105. We're at 100. Okay, 98. Where did I stop? Did I stop? Filtered bulk delivery, fuel dispensation, recirculation of the operation of a 1 1/4 inch hose reel. Alright, we're going to read the recirculation operation of a 1 1/4 inch hose reel. Open the hose reels to the cabinet door, turn the release handle to lift the door to both handles, ensure all the valves are closed, unreel static reel cable connecting to the approved earth ground both. Bring the fire extinguisher to the point of operation, start the engine when warming, adjust the engine to the speed of 1,200 RPMs, unreel the hose that you are going to use, remove the single point of the nozzle from the hose reel coupling, connect the underwing nozzle to the hose reel, remove the dust cap on the recirculation fitting of the connecting to the hose, the recirculation fitting on the tanker, open the valves AH and MNRP, and depending on which of the hose the reel used and setting the engine throttle is desired to flow rate, move the lever open position, underwiring the nozzle safety valve at the end of the hose at the beginning of the flow. At the end of the operation, adjust the idle speed of the 1,200 RPM. Move the lever close to the position, underwinding the nozzle safety valve of the hose, discussing the underwinding nozzle. Underwing nozzle from the recirculation fitting to replace the dust in the recirculation fit. Replace the dust cap of the underwing nozzle. Close all the valves. Open the spill container, pulling the locking pin, twisted and disconnect the nozzle, evacuating the hose. Ensure all the valves are closed. Open the valves at A, E, G, and K. Open the V valve P and R, whichever was used to evacuate the 1 1/4 inch hose. Set the engine throttle to the maximum 2,400 RPMs. On the H-TARS level with the evacuation complete with the meters to turns. When the meter turns back slowly under the fuel is evacuated. Idles down the engine, close all the valves S, rewind the 1 1/4 inch cord, shut off the engine, disconnect the static reel cable from the ground connection, rewind, close the hose and the cabinet door and latch in place to store and cover the fire extinguisher. 29. Load and dispense petroleum products from the M967A 5,000 gallon tanker according to the TM 92330-35614. Bottom loading using self-contained overfill prevention system. Ensure all the valves are closed. Ground the semi-trailer tanker. Look up the vapor recovery system if available. If the vapor recovery system is not available, open the vapor recovery outlets slowly opposite side of the outloading operation. This will allow the fumes to vent away from the operator while unloading. Remove the cover from the bottom loading connection, connecting the bottom loading of the hose at the bottom of the loading connection. Bring the fire extinguisher to the point of operation. Open the valve D and begin the flow. When the filling of the tank means at the bottom of the loading and the test of the pre-check system is mandatory. If the system is not functional, stop all their operations to determine problem that having the correctly qualified technician. Failure to the automatic shut-off of the fuel function should result in the uncontrolled fuel spillage to the danger of the fire explosions. After the flow has begun, closing all the valve D, the pre-check shut-off valve float. The float is functionally flow should stop about 20 to 25 seconds. Open the valve D, the flow will resume about 20 seconds when the tank is full. When the flow should stop, automatically close all the valves, disconnect the hose, and replace all the covers. Drain the accumulated water. Put a container under the manifold, draining the pipe at the control in the cabinet. Open the emergency valve A. Slowly open the valve H and J. Allow the fuel to drain until the pure fuel begins to flow. Close the H and J emergency valve and then remove the grounding of the wire and store in the cover of the fire extinguisher. Bottom of the loading and using the rack of the monitoring overfill the prevention system. Ensure all the valves are closed and the ground semi-trailer tanker. Hook up the vapor recovery system if available. The vapor recovery system is not available. Open the vapor recovery outlet opposite side of the loading operation. This will let the fumes when they away for the appropriate while loading. Remove the cover of the bottom of the loading connection of the rack between the loading and the top of the bottom of the loading connection. Bring the fire extinguisher to the point of the operation, connecting the overfill prevention of the terminal proper overfill socket of the tank. Checking the silicon monitoring for the efforts and make sure the green permanent light is on. Open the valve D and begin the flow. After the flow begins, the close of the valve D and pre-check the shut-off float. Its flow is functional flow. It should stop after 20 to 25 seconds. Open the valve D and flow will resume to 20 seconds. When the tank is filled, close the valve D, disconnect the hoses, overfill the prevention cable, replace the covers, drain the accumulated water, same as the prior operation. Remove the ground wire store and cover the fire extinguishers. 30. Gravity unloading the M967 A2. Ensure all the valves are closed, connecting the ground wire to the storage facility, grounding the side of the semi-trailer, remove the 4-inch delivery hose from the hose tube, remove the dust cover to the outlet, connect the hose out of the B storage facility, open the valve with the recovery outlet of the vapor recovery line to allow the airflow in the tank during the unloading process. Remove the fire extinguisher, bring to the point of operation, open the valves A, H, G, and B in the beginning of the flow. Disconnect to the houses one side at a time and relieve the pressure of the off hose. At the end of the operation, close all the valves, disconnect the hoses, replace the cap of the hose, put it in the hose of the tube. Reinstall the dust cover of the outlet B. Reinstall the cap of the vapor recovery outlet. Drain accumulated water in the same manner as within the loading procedure, removing the ground wires, store the cover in the fire extinguisher. Self-loading, not filters, fuel servicing involving the use of the engine pump, ensuring all the valves are enclosed. Connect the static reel to the static storage facility, bringing the fire extinguisher to the point of the operation. Start engine when the engine is adjusted into ideal speed, 1,1200 RPMs. Remove 4-inch bulk fuel hose from the hose tube. Remove the dust cover from the outlet of the B, connecting the bulk fuel hose to the outlet of the storage facility. Open the vapor of the recovery outlet. Open the valves B, D, and G. Adjust the engine to the throttle to the desired flow rate. Shortly after the flow has closed the valve D to pre-check the shut off the flow. If the flow is functional flow, the should stop after 20 to 25 seconds. Open the valve D and the flow will resume in about 20 seconds when you talk. Anchor's full flow should automatically end at the end of the operation. Ideal. Roll down the engine, close all the valves, disconnect 4-inch bulk of the hose, and then put them in the hose. Secure the hose tube latch to stop the engine drain accumulated water in the same manner as with the loading procedures. Remove the ground wires and store the cover fire extinguishers. The bulk delivery from the semi-trailer to the storage facility. Ensure all the valves are closed, connecting the ground wire to the storage facility, grounding the stud of the semi-trailer, bringing the fire extinguisher to the point of operation, starting with the engine. When the engine is warm, adjusting the throttle to the engine speed, 1,1200 RPMs. Remove the 4-inch bulk fuel from the tube. Remove the vapor recovery outlet of the cap to allow the airflow into the tank. Open the valves A, B, H, and F. A, B, F, and H. Adjust the engine throttle for the desired flow rate. Idle down the engine at the operation. Close all the valves. Disconnection hose. Reinstall the dust cover. Reinstall the cap of the vapor outlet. Replace the bulk fuel hose and the hose in the tube. Secure the latches. Remove the thermometer as required of the time and record temperature of the gauge and worksheet. Stop the engine. Correcting the valve at 60 degrees Fahrenheit according to this task 101.92 F1409 if required, and record and given a gauge worksheet to the supervisor. Drain accumulated water into some manner as loading procedure, removing the ground wire, storing the cover over the extinguisher. Top loading. Make sure all the valves are closed. The top loading should only be done when the bottom of the load is possible. When top of the loading, there is not automatically shut down the system by loading the hose of the void. The slip pillage to the capacity indicator gauge of the dipstick gauge to determine the amount of the fuel loaded. The failure to the fuel. All of this may result in the fire or explosion hazard. Grounding the semi-trailer and loading with the rack or stand, connecting the bonding of the grounding, cabling the loading of the rack and stop of the grounding and stood on the top of the tank of the one or more of the following lower sides of the tank before opening the filler cover. Loading with the hose. The storage facility may have the metal fitting on the free end of the hose that may be bonded internally before opening the fill cover, connecting the vehicle bonding, grounding the company, able the grounding stud on the top of the tank, some part of the permanent piping of the loading facility, bringing the fire extinguisher to the point of the operation. Slowly open the fill cover, then insert the hose far enough to keep the hose in contact with the bottom of the tank. Remove the dust cover from the outlet B. Connect the fuel hoses to the outlet B, the storage facility. Slowly begin the fuel. Still going to begin the flow. Fill the tank with no further than the bottom of the capacity indicator. The capacity indicator is located inside the tank near the fill cover. The capacity indicator of the 14-inch long threaded stainless steel rod bolted in the manhole cover, threaded on one of the rods and one of the 2-inch diameter round disc. This can be adjusted to the rod indicated the desired liquid capacity level. Complete DA Form 364-3, DA Form 2404, DA Form 598AE, and turn in to the supervisor and maintain communications with higher HQ and MTS. See these tasks as required. Applied risk management procedures employed environmental stewardship protection program measures according to task 101, 92F 1413. Understood the unit installation of the standard operation procedure and operating orders. Requirements of the requisition and storing, the handling and disposition of hazardous material where appropriate personal protective equipment is required, perform bureau before, during, and after operations of the performance and check services and system components according to appropriate TMs as noted with the DA Form 2404, DA Form 598-8E, and any defaults while performing the performance maintenance check services performed by safety procedures prior to the operations dispatch vehicle DD Form 1970, DA Form 598-70E, and DA Form 2404, DA Form 598-8E. These are all a go or no go. If you do them, there's go. If you don't, these are no go. Gauge petroleum tank vehicles operated the TPU according to TM 10493023623613 NP operated the HEMTT according to TM 92320279101. Performed operated maintenance and loaded and unloaded dispensed products from the M131A5C, M900 series tank valve vehicles, M967 and M969, M970, and the M49A2C tank truck. Discharge product used the pressure of the vehicle pumping the 4-inch suction hose. The product is not filtered metered in the vehicle before pressuring discharge of the vehicle pump. The 4-inch hose of the M969, M970 hose product is filtered and not metered in the vehicle. Dispensed and not filtered using the vehicle pump with 1/4-inch discharge hose of the M969. Dispensing the filter using the vehicle pump with the 1/4-inch discharge of the M969 product is metered in the filtered in vehicle. Recirculated using the vehicle pump, the 2.5-inch discharge hose. The product is metered and filtered by the vehicle in the M970. The recirculated vehicle, the M1 1.5-inch discharge hose. The M970 product is metered and filtered by the vehicle. And then performance measure 918. The dispensing fuel is single pointed under wing of the aircraft using the vehicle to pump the 1.5-inch discharge hose of the M970 go or no go. Dispensing the fuel closed over the wing of an aircraft using the vehicle pump the 1.5-inch discharge M970 fuel using the vehicle of the 1.5 and 2.5-inch discharge hose of the M970 product is metered in the filtered vehicle. Loaded and dispensed principal petroleum products, the M969A 5,000-gallon tanker, according to TM 23302399810. Gravity unloaded the M969A3 self-loaded non-filtered servicing involving the use of the engine and pump, performing the hose evacuation M969A3 online. Only purging and removing the fuel from the dispensing must be done after the operation that implies the dispensing hose. Perform non-filtered dispenses, perform filtered bulk for delivery, perform filtered fuel dispenses, perform real circulation operation within 1/4 inch into the hose. Real loaded dispensed petroleum products of the M967A 5,000-gallon tanker according to TM 92330356414. Perform gravity unloaded using the M961A2. Perform self-loaded non-filtered fuel servicing involving the use of the engine pumping go or no-go. Perform bulk delivery from the semi-trailer to storage facility go or no-go. Performed top loading go or no-go. Completed the DA Form 3643, DA Form 2404, DA Form 5988E, and turned in to supervisor. Maintain communication within the higher headquarters of the MTS. And the evaluation of a soldier is in the go is always performed to pass. The soldier that is in the go no-go is performed to fail. The soldier that scores a no-go shows that he does wrong and needs to do corrections. Do it correctly. The DA forms, this is a reference to the DA form 2404, 346, 598, 5988E, and the Department of Defense form 1970 with a scroll of TMs and basically a DPAM 758 and 3112 and 3104, and then it's a whole bunch of different TMs for your different tanker cars. Operating fuel pumps and filters.